poetry. And for a moment he became silent, and then he told me, very good God, it's easy to believe it. That's God, I like it. And we have a verse today about this conception of God. It's a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 22 and verse 16. 4:22-16. Very beautiful, very inspiring text. So Sanskrit, Yaktam Atma Vatam Atma Bhagavan Atma Bhavanaha Svanan Anugraha Yevam Siddharupi Charatya Jaha. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always anxious to elevate the living entities who are his parts and parcels. And for their special benefit, the Lord travels all over the world in the form of self-realized persons like you. So this verse was spoken by Prithu Maharaj to 4 Kumaras. Prithu Maharaj was a king, and Kumaras was traveler preachers, we can say. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are different kinds of transcendentalists, namely the Jnanis, or Gyanis, as they say in Bengal. Gyanis, yeah. Jnana is Sanskrit, Gyana is Bengali. And Prabhupada was from Bengal, therefore he will always say and so. Or in ISKCON we adopt this kind of Sanskrit. Okay, there are different kinds of transcendentalists, namely the Gyanis or impersonalists, the mystic yogis, and of course all the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Kumaras, however, were both yogis and Gyanis, and finally Bhaktas later on. In the beginning they were impersonalists, but later they developed devotional activities. Therefore, they are the best of the transcendentalists. The devotees are representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to elevate the conditioned souls to their original consciousness, they travel all over the universes to enlighten the conditioned souls about Krishna consciousness. The best devotees are Atmavat, or those who have fully realized the Supreme Soul. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Paramatma, is sitting within everyone's heart, trying to elevate everyone to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he is called Atma Bhavana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always trying to give the individual soul the intelligence to understand about himself. He is always within the individual as a friend, sitting by the side of a friend. He is, and he gives facilities to all living entities according to their desires. The word Atmavatam is significant in this verse. There are 3 different kinds of devotees, namely Kanishta-adhikari, Madhyama-adhikari, and Uttama-adhikari. The neophyte, the preacher, and the Mahabhagavata, or highly advanced devotee. The highly advanced devotee is one who knows the conclusion of the Vedas in full knowledge. Thus he becomes a devotee. Indeed, not only is he convinced himself, but he can convince others on the strength of Vedic evidence. The advanced devotee can also see all other living entities as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, without discrimination. The Madhyama-adhikari preacher is also well versed in the Shastras and can convince others also. But he discriminates between the favorable and unfavorable. In other words, the Madhyamati does not care for the demonic living entities, and the neophyte Kanishta does not know much about Shastra but has full faith in Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Kumaras, however, were Mahabhagavatas because after scrutinizingly studying the Absolute Truth, they became devotees. In other words, they were in full knowledge of Vedic conclusion. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed by the Lord that there are many devotees, but that a devotee who is fully conversant in Vedic conclusion is very dear to him. Everyone is trying to elevate himself to the highest position according to this mentality. The karmis who have a bodily concept of life try to enjoy sense gratification to the utmost. The Gyanis' idea of the highest position is emerging into the effulgence of the Lord. But the devotee's highest position is in preaching all over the world the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the devotees are actually the representatives of the Supreme Lord, and as such, they travel all over the world directly as Narayana, because they carry Narayana within their hearts and preach his glories. The representative of Narayana is as good as Narayana, but he is not to conclude like the Mayavadis that he became Narayana. Generally, a sannyasi is addressed as Narayana by the Mayavadis. Their idea is that simply by taking sannyasa, one becomes equal to Narayana or becomes Narayana himself. The Vaishnava conclusion is different. As stated by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, Hindu Prabhu Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanavindam. According to the Vaishnava philosophy, a devotee is as good as Narayana, not by becoming Narayana, but by becoming the most confidential servant of Narayana. Such great personalities act as spiritual masters for the benefit of the people in general, and as such, a spiritual master who is preaching the glories of Narayana should be accepted as Narayana and be given all respect due him. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurudamiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stavitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And verse one more time, Vyaktam Atma Vatam Atma, Bhagavan Atma Bhavana, Swanam Anugraha Yevam Siddharupi Charatya Jaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always desirous to elevate the living entities who are his parts and parcels. And for their special benefit, the Lord travels all over the world in the form of self-realized persons like you. So usually religious people talk about God as the one who punishes, especially in Christianity world. It's like that. Don't do nothing, or he will punish you. And from their point of view, souls who have turned away from God cause him, fits of annoyance and even anger. You turn away from me. I'm angry on you. I will revenge. And for this betrayal, God constantly punishes and living entities and for slightest offense. And I always doesn't like this idea that if you have committed some sin, you will go to hell for eternity. It was very funny. How is that? I commit one sin, and for my life, I, live a pious life, and no problem. We go to hell because one sin. Very silly philosophy. Very strange. Unfortunately, such ideas about God are very common in a society. And actually, it's very bad for distributing of spiritual knowledge. Because God is not the person that you should be afraid of. For example, now, today we have a Father Day in Finland. And in the Vedas it is said that Krishna is a father. Krishna, Bhagavad Gita said, Aham Bija Pradah Pita. And I am the father who gives the sin for all living entities. So he's a father. And sometimes religious person, not atheists, religion persons, they describe God like a maniac, always, very harsh to their children. And it was even slightest offense, I will revenge you, like that. And that one of the reasons why religion right now is not so prominent in the world. Because people doesn't have a conception of God. I mean positive conception. Always like that. And this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam reveals real motives of God, reveals his real nature, real mood. Being a caring father of all living entities, of all living beings, he fulfills the desire of all living beings since time immemorial. The verse like that we can find in Katha Upanishad. Nityo Nityanam Chetanash Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yogidat Hati Kaman. Nityo Nityanam, there's lots of Nitya. Eternal living entities. Yeah. All of us are eternal. And Krishna is always also eternal. But he has a power to fulfill the desire of all other living entities. And he do this from time immemorial. Because he is loving Father. Loving Father. Even if we are turned away from him, still he's sitting in our heart, he saw our desire, and he'll do everything that the desire will be, satisfied. Yeah. That is interesting. That is the nature of God. Loving Father. Not one who is this thunderbolt and looking for those who, commit some offense. No, loving Father. Because a living entity can only have a desire. We can't fulfill our own desire. For example, we desire to walk to some other place, but we doesn't know how we walk. We just have a desire to walk. And body somehow, walking. We put food in our stomach and somehow this food digested. We don't know how it's possible. We don't know how all this happened. We just do it. We just desire to eat. And we can feel the taste of the food and so on. Who do this for us? We don't know how to breathe. We don't know how oxygens, get in our blood, and then this carbonate gas. Huh? Yeah, come out. Nobody of us, know this. Nobody do this. The system just working for our benefit. Who make this system? Of course, modern scientists say that it's accident, just like that, just happened. I think it's very foolish explanation. Actually, it's just happened. There was a story about Newton. It's famous mathematician and physicist, I think. He made this small replica of sun system. There's a sun in the center and other planets, and you can turn, the thing, and all these planets also, became walking their ways. So it's just a replica to show how solar system works. And one atheist friend came to him to see him, and he asked him, Newton, who made this? Very interesting thing, who made this? And Newton said, it just happened here, accidentally. I just woke up today, came in this room and I saw it accidentally, So his friends told him, it's impossible. Definitely somebody, should make it. And Newton said, you think that a replica should be made by somebody, but this real solar system, is just accidental. What a fool you are. So a living entity can't fulfill desire. You just can have desire. However, the fulfillment of our desires is entirely in the hands of the Lord. Only He can do this, because only He can control material energy. In Bhagavad Gita, there is a famous verse, 9th chapter, 10 verse, 10 text. Maya jakshena prakriti yuksvete sacharacharam ketanana nekantaya jagatvi parivartate. Krishna told there, one of my material nature acts under my supervision, producing all living and immoving beings under her leadership. The universe arise and destroyed again and again. I'm in control, Krishna said. We just try to understand laws of Krishna and act accordingly, and then we'll get benefits. Of course, sometimes, scientists, they understand some law of Krishna and call this law by their name, like a Newton law. This is my law, No, Krishna, my, I'm in charge. But, before our birth here and after us, sun will rise and go down, and winter came after autumn, and after winter there will be spring, yeah, and there will be summer, before us and after us. It's not about us. We're not under control. And once again, this is a good point. This is a very good news. Because if we will be under control, it will be disasters. We can't control even the slightest thing. For example, we have 2 or 3 persons in our family, and they are under our control. Even 4 years child, not under control. Yeah, there are any parents here. 4, 5 years, completely not under control. Live his own life. Before you have a children, you think, well, it will be like my replica, like my avatar, will be very obedient and so on. No. He has his own karma, his own will. Yeah. And you will be happy when he will start to live separately. At least I can have my own life. My daughter now 11 years old, and yesterday she several times, 3 times in the week, she go to horse riding school in St. Petersburg. And usually I drive her, by the car. And it takes some, 3-4 hours for me. Because it's St. Petersburg. It's not like 15 minutes here in Helsinki. In St. Petersburg, if you have to, drive 1 hour, it's very good. It's very near. No problem. Only 1 hour. Phew. But yesterday, I'm here now and I get here by car, and so my daughter came to this horse riding school by the subway and bus, so she grown up enough. And my wife happily wrote it to me, yesterday. Yeah, she made it. It seems that we are free now. We can go to some other place. Well, the first point which I want to, stress right now, that Krishna is loving Father, and He satisfies our desire, because nobody else can. Nobody else can. Only He can do this, because He can manage material energy. Loving Father. There's another point. However, the Lord is not only concerned about the maintenance of living beings, living entities. He also constantly, in this verse it said, anxieties. Not just want, He anxieties. Always think about it. Always think about it. He constantly cares about spiritual well-being of every living entities. Constantly. In the Vedas, it is said that Krishna is our own hearts, always. No matter in what species of life you are. Even in hawk's body, in cockroach body, Krishna is there, near to you. He is a best friend. For example, if you have a friend, but then he became a drunkard, maybe he will not be our friend anymore. Yeah. But Krishna is not like that. Even if you have abandoned all his laws, completely turned away from him, he will be there in the heart. No matter which body you have, no matter in which circumstances you will be, he will be there. There's a song like that. I will be there for you. I will be there for you. It's only about Krishna. Nobody else can do this. Nobody else. Only He can do this. He always there in the heart and try to help us in our spiritual advancement also. Not only He satisfy our desires, maintain us as loving Father, He always there in the heart and try to do something good for our spiritual advancement. The Lord always thinks about how to awaken spiritual intelligence of every living entity. Like Srila Prabhupada said, if you make one step towards Krishna, Krishna will make 1,000 steps toward you. So if you walk towards Krishna, Krishna will run to you. Oh, my dear one, at last, you make one step to me. No problem. I will help you. There was a story about one sadhu, one saintly person. He traveled from one house to another and begged for some madhukari, how to say in English? For alms, yeah. It's not for sadhu. He can ask in one house and eat and will be happy, but he goes from one door to another to remind these persons about God. Oh, thank you very much for your donation. And do you know there is a God? I can speak something about Him to you if you want to listen. So once the sadhu came to the home of one very miserly person. please give me something. And this person thinking, I will laugh, I will trolling, yeah? Bullying this sadhu. I will show him. And he takes some ashes from his fireplace. Just ashes. Handful of ashes. And he came to the sadhu. This is my donation to you. Take it. And sadhu told him, thank you very much. That's how your spiritual advancement started. Ashes, no problem, but you give something, at least. Because before you always think how to take something. There was another story about Haja Nasruddin in Middle East. There's this person, Haja Nasruddin. Like in India, they have a Birbal. Very clever guy who, always can solve, very tricky situations. So in Middle East, they have Haja Nasruddin. Once this Haja Nasruddin walking by, and he saw the person, rich person, drowned, drowning in the water, and on the head was, on the surface, and there's lots of, people around him, and all of them, screaming to this person, give me the hand, I will help you, give me the hand. But he doesn't do this. He doesn't give his hand. Haja Nasruddin told them, you do it improperly. You should told him, take the hand. He doesn't have. It's not from his dictionary. He became a rich person not because he gave, but because he's taking, away everything he saw. Take my hand, and immediately he catches this hand and will be, and he was saved. Okay. The Lord always think about how to awaken the spiritual intelligence of living entity. And by doing this, we'll allow this living entity to plunge back in the eternal spiritual reality, feel of bliss and knowledge. For example, just 15 minutes ago, we chanted the holy name and we was happy. You don't need money, you don't need, a great position in the society to be happy. Just make a contact with Krishna. Just be in contact with God and you will be happy. It's very easy to be happy. But because we don't know about God, we think that it's very difficult to be happy. It's practically impossible to be happy. Therefore, you can go to the street and they always, like that. Where's the happiness? It's impossible. Yeah, they're very rich actually. From my point of view, I'm living in Russia. From my point of view, if I go to the center of the Helsinki, I think there is a rich person there, expensive cars and so on, but there is no bright faces. Somehow, I don't know why. There is no happiness. Somehow. Very interesting. And they all in the searching of happiness. Where is my happiness? Where is my happiness? I sound happy. Maybe another wife give me happy, another husband give me happy, another Volvo give me happy. That is my happiness. But you can just sit, chant Hare Krishna, be in contact with Krishna, and be happy. Just feeling happiness. It's very easy to be happy, actually. If you just turn, to God, turn your face to God. Being eternal particles of the Lord, we should not again and again, become victims of material conditioning. Prabhupada called it the situation when soul in the body and attached to the body, Prabhupada called it incompatible situation. Because soul is eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. And you can't find any of these qualities in the body. Body is not eternal. As soon as soul goes away from the body just, fall down. And we put this body in the earth. Because after some days it becomes male, deteriorating. It will be not very good. Therefore, when soul leaves the body, we as soon as possible try to get rid of this body. Before, when soul was in the body, it's very beautiful. We love it. But as soon as a soul leaves the body, this body, you don't need this body anymore. Just throw it away. In India, they just burn and throw ashes to the Ganga or Yamuna or in Jagannath Puri, the ocean. But we are here. Therefore, Prabhupada called this incompatible situation. To incompatible substance, somehow became compatible. It's like oil and water. It's always separated. So soul and the body also, it's not compatible to each other. It's not compatible. But because of illusion, because of ignorance, we think that we are the bodies. And because we think that we are the bodies, we think that our happiness depending on the body. If body is happy, I'm happy. But problem is that happiness is not for body. Body cannot be happy. Body can be satisfied for some time. If you put food in this body, some warm dress, yet for sometimes it's satisfied. But after sometimes, body will demand for more food. I need more. Body is not for happiness. If you want to feel happiness, you should understand who you are. And if you try to be happy in the body, it's useless. It's impossible. Especially if you are after 40s, especially after 50s. Always there is something wrong in the body. I'm a 44, and there is always something wrong. Always. I doesn't sleep well today. Somehow I don't know why. Maybe because of full moon. I don't know why. Maybe because of this bed is not for me. This pillow is not okay for me. Maybe I need a new pillow. I have about 10 pillows in my home. And none of these pillows is working, I try to sleep, but then I get rid of the pillow and just sleep like that. That's working. But still, there's always something wrong in the body. That's the point. So it's incompatible situation. When souls try to be happy in the material circumstances, it's incompatible situation. You just can't get happiness by this way. There's just no happiness. Matter is not source of happiness. Matter is source of agitation for the senses. That's true. If our senses get in contact with some object, material object, senses become agitated. I want to have this. But after some times, new object will come, and senses again became agitated. Now I want this object. I throw away the old one, and I want this one. But there is no happiness in this process, only agitation. One of the mistake of modern way of thinking is that they equalize agitation to happiness. They think that this is the same thing. If I'm agitated, I'm happy. But Vedic point is another. You're happy when you are peaceful. If you're peaceful, then you can feel happiness from within because you are happy by nature. Ananda is our one of our energy. So if I have a peaceful mind, I just feel happiness. I'm happy because I know who am I. The heart of pure devotee of God is often compared to a temple. So I want to stress another point. One point, Krishna is a loving father. Another point, Krishna is always try for our spiritual advancement. Always anxious about our spiritual advancement. So third point of my lecture. A heart of pure devotee of God is often compared to a temple. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote it down. Mama mana mandira. Mandir of my mind. Mandir of my heart. Mandir or temple of my consciousness. Such a devotee always thinks of God, and because of this, the Lord personally settles in his heart, as in the temple. Therefore, when this pure devotee travel around, Krishna will travel with him. I'm not a pure devotee, but Krishna always also travel with me because I have my deities with me. And when I came to some, city, I have my Govardhan Shiva, and I have my Shalagram Shiva, and Krishna is always there. So pure devotee is always try to reveal Krishna whenever he came. Oh, I don't have a time anymore.
Yeah,
Oh, I just forgot about time. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Maybe there's one comment or question. I'm sorry, I just forget. Well, this third point will be unrevealed until next time. So, 2 points of my lecture: Krishna is loving Father, and Krishna is always anxious about our spiritual advancement. He is not the God who always, harsh and angry. You should have very positive conception of that. Vedic conception of God is very positive. Grantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Patit Pavan ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.
Vedanta Krit Prabhu ki.
yeah.